This is Dr. Drake. I am going to talk to you tonight about multi-level marketing and pyramid scams. This is the Business Edge, and if you'd like to call in, or maybe you have a nightmare story you'd like to share, the number here is 866-826-1340. Don't be embarrassed, because studies show that most people who have been victims of these scams are often too ashamed to tell anybody or even report it to the government agencies that regulate it. So if you want to call in, you are in good company. There are many scams out there, and many people have been taken advantage of. Again, the number here, 866-826-1340, and we are talking about multi-level marketing. Is it really just a pyramid scam? Well, let's talk about that a little bit. First of all, what's a pyramid scam? So many people have heard about them, but not many people have encountered them anymore because they are illegal. At one time, they were slipping under the radar, but they were made illegal because inevitably so many people lost fortunes, and so many people, I'm going to emphasize the word many again, lost fortunes through pyramid scams. A typical pyramid scam, let's break it down as simply as possible. One example of a pyramid scam. Now, I don't know how old you are, so I don't know if you remember those letters that went in the mail years and years ago. I'd say it was the 70s when these letters were being sent all around, way before the internet. Nowadays you see it in email perhaps, but a classic example is a letter that comes to you and says, you know, you've been selected to be part of this investment group. This is a great opportunity, and here's a list of 20 names. Send $5 to the last person named, or maybe the first person named, or whoever is on the list. Send $5 to this person, and now you turn around and make 10 copies of that and send it to 10 people and ask them to send you $5. It's a classic illegal, and may I emphasize illegal, scam, also known as a pyramid scam. A pyramid scam is named a pyramid scam, or a Ponzi scheme, perhaps, simply because it's shaped in a pyramid. The head of the scam is at the very top. He is getting the most rewards, and the people underneath him gradually get lessening rewards, and the money is always funneled up the chain until the pyramid eventually collapses, as it inevitably has to, which is why it's illegal. However, once they made pyramid scams illegal, the next step was to try to modify them so that most of the time it could skate under the radar of the government. Well, how do you make a pyramid scam legal? The best way to make a pyramid scam legal is to actually exchange some kind of goods or services, even if it's not really the primary focus of the pyramid scam, and call it multi-level marketing. At that point, you're exchanging something, and the government kind of lets that go by unless you can really show that underlying the whole thing is it really becomes a pyramid scam. And that happens a lot of times. The government will investigate a multi-level marketing group and find that it really is a thinly disguised pyramid scam. Why is that? Well, first of all, multi-level marketing and pyramid scams are pretty similar. In fact, I would go as far as to say, honestly, despite the fact that you will hear people screaming that I'm insane, I really believe them to be one and the same thing. However, let's talk about what a multi-level marketing system, I almost said scam, so I guess you can see where I'm going with this, but let's talk about multi-level marketing. And with that, too, our show's producer, Mike, had something to say about this when we talked about it off the air. So, Mike, you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, it's kind of similar to communism. You know, only a few people prosper at the top.
Absolutely true. That's a beautiful definition, one I hadn't run into in my research, and it truly sums it up. If the show ended right now, I would want you to take that one thing with you, because it's true. Unfortunately, with multi-level marketing, very few people profit, and all the little soldiers down at the base are the ones scurrying around trying to make that extra buck, and all the people at the top are sitting back in their resorts or on their Lear jets or on their yachts, and they're just taking in all the money, and they're doing very little to earn it, but they are taking it in, and they're taking in all the people who are working for them. Well, what got me started on this, you might ask? I was in a group not too long ago, and there's a new multi-level marketing group on the horizon. And I'm not going to name any names, but this one particular group, it's a little confusing. It's very easy to grasp the concept behind, a legal services, multi-level marketing scam. They're selling legal services for perhaps a bigger amount than you would get if you just went and found an attorney. But they're selling legal services. A vitamin multi-level marketing group sells vitamins, and a juice one sells juices. And so this one really caught me by surprise. But what got me fired up is when the leader of it cornered my husband and tried to convince my husband to invest in this and tried to talk his ear off and tell him what a great opportunity it was. Well, that was a mistake, because if you're going to corner somebody in my family and talk to them about an investment scheme, better accept the fact that I will be looking into it. I'm not one of those people who sits back and takes it lightly. And I'm not one of those people who just is going to take something at face value. So I did a little investigating. Well, this guy stood up in front of this group not too long ago, and I got to be there when he said to everybody, "Now repeat after me. This is not a pyramid scam. This is multi-level marketing." Repeat after me again. "This is not a pyramid scam." And I thought, my goodness, this sounds like a church revival meeting. And what do you know? The audience obediently said, "This is not a pyramid scam." And I thought to myself, okay, now I really want to investigate this guy, because there is a lot of schlock in this presentation. So he went on and went to great lengths to explain how great this organization was and how he had invested a great amount of money, $6,500 in early January, to be making a net income now of $300 a week. And I thought, wow, is that really the best he can do? This is a selling point. You invest $6,500 and only a month ago you started to break even? That's not sounding good to me. And he went on to explain what it was. It's a form of penny auctions. And what you have to do, supposedly, to be making this wild amount of money, which to my mind is not very wild, what you got to do to make this money is do a cut and paste of an ad somewhere and sit back and reap the rewards. Now, does that really sound like something that makes any sense to you at all? All you got to do is do a click and paste, advertise for them, and sit back and reap the rewards. Well, come on now. I mean, honestly, if it is that big a company and it is as wonderful as it's purported to be, then with the money that they are making on this fabulous penny stock investment, surely they can afford to hire a top-notch marketing group, right? They don't need to have a bunch of little minions out there cutting and pasting ads every day. So obviously, this is just pretend busy work to keep people thinking that this is something other than a simple pyramid scam, right? Well, not only do they cut and paste, but they also, if they're really motivated, make a couple calls a day. Again, that's not a lot of work. And the problem with penny stocks and other nebulous things like that is it's not a product you hold in your hand. This is all done online. This is all very gray and shady to me. And when this guy was done with his presentation, one very intelligent woman raised her hand and she said, "You know what? We're a networking group, and how can we promote what you have if I don't understand it? Does anybody else here understand it?" And everybody looked at each other and said, "No." And he said, "Well, I can't really explain it any better than that. If you want to, you can come and speak to me individually. That's really the way that we sell, is individually." And I thought, yeah, so you can corner them and really sucker them. No, I'm sorry, but it doesn't ring true. If you cannot explain it after a lengthy discussion to a group, you got an issue. Go ahead, Mike. Our producer wants to say something.
No, the Jedi mind trick only works on a one-to-one basis. I was wondering, did this guy like sweat a lot too, and just kind of
yes,
shaky, drink a lot of coffee, and just look like he could sell you a used car?
Yes, and you know what I found interesting too. Now, I'm going to say right now that this is not branding any particular religion, but I have gone to a church that I can think of off the top. I've gone to a number of churches, but there's one church in the area in particular that seems to foster people who feverishly pursue multi-level marketing scams. And that particular church also has a community outreach to people with addiction problems. So I don't know I don't know if there's a level of credulity that has to come with this. I don't know if it's a lifestyle. I think what it comes down to is people who perhaps get into substance abuse or who don't have necessarily the best work ethics that we could assume people should have are people who are always looking to make that fast buck. And multi-level marketing promises a fast buck. But the sad thing is that statistically, let's see here, 95% of all people who enter multi-level marketing leave. Now, this statistic is from Dr. John Taylor, who wrote something called The Case for and Against Multi-Level Marketing, although I have to be honest here, he really doesn't make a case for it. He does write about how in a perfect world, there is a possibility of a valid multi-level marketing group. However, he's examined 350 multi-level marketing groups and has not found one that he considers to be ethical. And so Dr. Taylor talks quite a bit. His paper is absolutely fabulous, and if you do a Google on him, you can find it and download it for free. The man has put a lot of research and effort into this. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, I have a question. Is it okay if I name a specific company?
Well, I think it's probably best we don't. But why don't you tell us what they do, and we can call it. We can call it after what they do.
American Widgets.
Okay, the American Widgets Company. Very good.
Well, they sell all sorts of products, and you sell those products to your friends and your family.
Classic multi-level marketing. And in case you're wondering, maybe you can clear this up, but Dr. Taylor did mention a few by name, and one of them was Amway. Is Amway one of the ones you're speaking of?
Yes, like that.
There we go. Yes, okay, that's a classic one, and Dr. Taylor does discuss it. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask, do people actually make money off of that, or is that just, because it's been around forever?
Oh, it has been. And that's an excellent question. He addresses that. He says that in the case of Amway, as in the case of many multi-level marketing groups, he said you have, if it's a strong pyramid scheme where it's predominantly all funds, a lot of times they will die. But many times, too, they'll limp along, reinventing themselves as they go. And Amway, he says, is a classic example. Dr. Taylor says Amway is a group that ended up renaming themselves something a little different in the U.S. I believe they're still known as Amway in England. I'm sorry, the UK, not England, because the UK encompasses all countries. But he says that Amway has renamed itself. Oh, let's see here. It begins with a Q somewhere. Anyways, it's basically Amway Reborn. And he says it's typical of all of these, or a Quick Star. It's known as Quick Star now. But he said typical with all of these companies, they rename themselves.
Quick Star?
Yes,
that's my quick scam. Quick Star, yeah.
You're right. And what happens is they'll reach out to a whole new group of recruits. Oh, this is an exciting opportunity. Maybe they've tweaked their product. Maybe they don't have, this particular brand of vitamin. Maybe they don't have Amway Vite. Now it's Quickstar Vite. But it's this fabulous product. You need to market it. Get in on the basement level while you can. You're going to make millions or at least thousands. You're going to do great.
Yeah, and then somebody walks up to them, well, that sounds like a pyramid scheme.
It's not really a pyramid scheme. It's more like a trapezoid,
This is actually not a pyramid scheme. It is multi-level marketing, so it makes it valid. Well, multi-level marketing, in my opinion, only is simply a pyramid scheme with product. And in this case, they say that people will be brought in, get burned out, and leave. Well, when they're brought in, they're funneling money up the chain. So the chain keeps making money, whether or not the little guys succeed or not. And the little guys get disenchanted. They leave. Maybe they even sell their product really cheap on eBay. He says it's interesting. You can go on eBay and look for some of these different products, and they're selling them quick. Oh my gosh, these people get into it, invest maybe their life savings, and at least when it's not this penny stock guy, at least if it's a real product, you might be able to sell it for cents on the dollar. How do you sell penny stocks? You're really done. But at least with these guys, they can turn around and sell these vitamins. But he says, interestingly, too, their products are usually touted as being superior to anything out there. And he says, but research shows that's not true. That for instance, in the case of vitamins, and this is a very interesting thing that he talked about in the case of vitamins, and you just heard a thump on the on the microphone as I'm feverishly turning pages and looking for the actual statistics on it. But he says that it's ridiculous how much more expensive it is to buy vitamins through these multi-level marketing groups as opposed to just at your corner drugstore. And yet they have basically the same products. There's really not a quality difference. And that also has been borne out by Consumer Reports that did a review on that as well. But he said the average vitamin he says here, the average cost per person per month for 10 separate products from 10 separate retail outlets, $11.52, including shipping. But the average cost per person per month from multi-level marketing sponsors, including Pharmanex, Quickstar, which is Amway, Melaleuca, Shaklee, Usana, Isogenics, Sunrider, Herbalife, Arbonne, and New Ways, $61.22 a month. After taxes and shipping are added. So you're looking at a difference of $50 a month just to help your friends out. Because let's face it, that's what multi-level marketing is all about, isn't it? You know, my friend Mike comes to me and says, hey, you know, I just got involved in Quickstar, which this, you know, is mentioned in here. And they've got a great vitamin, much better than anything you can buy at the local drugstore. So can I sign you up for that? And I like Mike. You know, I want to help Mike out. He's starting his own business.
Especially after I've just suffered a severe head trauma.
Right.
So I'm susceptible to suggestion.
Right, right. And you have a family to feed, and you might be living under a bridge if I don't buy those vitamins from you. So I have to buy. I mean, I'm obligated. This is my friend. But at the same time, I also have a little bit of resentment toward him because here I'm spending $50 more on vitamins with him because I like him, as opposed to just going to the corner drugstore and getting the $11 worth of vitamins. So we're going to break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the multi-level marketing scams and some of the companies that do that. This is Dr. Drake with The Business Edge, and we will be back shortly. And this is Dr. Drake. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. We are tackling pyramid schemes, multi-level marketing, and the companies that do them. Well, let me tell you about my own experience with multi-level marketing outside of the man who is trying to push my husband into penny stocks. A while ago, I was working for a company, and I'm not going to name any names, but I was working with and for them, and I wanted to basically do what they so desired me to do, and I wanted to keep my job. So let's just say the two were not incompatible, and I was approached by one of the top people in the company and asked to do a multi-level marketing enterprise with him, along with a couple other people. Well, I knew on which side my bread was buttered, and I said, okay. It didn't mean I was going to really sell the stuff, but I was willing to pay that monthly fee just to keep my boss happy. And so I did. It was one of those vacation scams. I don't know if you're familiar with them. There are a couple out there, but this particular one charged $350 to $400 for an initial setup, which is very interesting because in the state of Florida, that would be considered to be a pyramid scheme and would be completely illegal. And in the state of Florida, interestingly enough, if I can find it, not only do they say that no multi-level marketing group should ever charge more than $100 or it is considered illegal. But, well, there's a lot of legal terminology in here, and I'm not going to read the whole thing to you because it puts me to sleep just reading it, and you don't need me snoozing on the air, and you'll probably be bored also. But basically it says if it's over $100, it's illegal. And I was told that the entire cost of the program was $350 to $400, somewhere in there. But they took half of the price, so it came down to about $200 for me to join. It's still illegal, but a lot less than the $350 to $400, and yet probably worth it to keep my job and make them happy for a little longer. So I did, and then of course the charge is roughly $25 to $50 a month to stay in the program, and the program was not actually really selling a product, but selling a membership, which is classic with multi-level marketing rackets. It's even easier to sell a product if you're in a standard business market. But with multi-level marketing, what you really are expected to be selling is memberships, or there are other terms for it, franchises perhaps, or team leaders. But whatever it is, the main goal of a multi-level marketing group is to get you on board and get you to recruit people under you. Because of course, if you don't, then the line stops at you, and what they want is that money funneling upwards. And the scam is such that it makes you believe that you could make a fortune, an absolute fortune, if you do everything they tell you. When you do and you still don't make money, they tell you it's your failure. And so many people fall for that a lot of times they do not turn around and call the Federal Trade Commission to complain about it. So if you have been scammed, or if you feel you're the victim of a scam, call the Federal Trade Commission about that particular multi-level marketing group you were in that disappointed you so terribly. It may not be you. In fact, I will tell you, I'm willing to bet it wasn't you. So what are some of the scams out there? Well, of course, there's the juice scam. All they have to do is go out to some wild, deserted country and traipse into the middle of the rainforest and find some fruit out there that nobody would have ever thought of eating until then, and pay a couple scientists off to say, hey, this is the best stuff since sliced bread, and then sell it at $40 to $50 to $60 a bottle in a fancy wine bottle, right? Well, that's a great scam, and it worked for a while with some companies, and I'm sure you can name some, and so can I, and we won't. But what's interesting is that Dr. Taylor says that he did some of his own research and found that a lot of the vitamin shops out there were selling these juices quickly during the time that this was going on, because the multi-level marketing people were out there doing their marketing for them, going out there saying, hey, guess what? Xavier juice is the best juice you've ever had. But people found out that the Xavier juice was being sold for $60 a bottle. So what was a good consumer to do? Well, I mean, unless you're really, really good friends or you're a relative of the person selling Xavier juice, you're going to listen to the pitch, and then you're going to go to the vitamin shop and say, hey, you got Xavier juice? And they'll say, yeah, we do. We're selling it for $25 a bottle. Oh, bargain. And you get to try it, right? So they always found that they were doing great when these multi-level marketing groups were selling a particular product that they also carried. In fact, I would venture to say many of them probably started carrying the juices or the vitamins that were being shopped about. And there's always some new vitamin, isn't there? I mean, so many people love Dr. Oz, and I have nothing to say against the man, but he is considered to be this fabulous guru. People listen to him with bated breath, and the moment he says, hey, try this avocado surprise with citrus and a little olive oil and salt, who doesn't go out running to get it, especially if he says, and you'll lose a lot of belly fat. One of my girlfriends just told me about it, and I'll tell you what, I'm tempted to try it, and at least it's not part of a multi-level marketing scam, right? So if Dr. Oz says, hey, Xavier juice is fabulous, you go running to buy Xavier juice, right? Everybody is into health food now, and with good reason, and yet at the same time, most of America is overweight, or certainly getting in that direction. It's kind of ironic. And I think it's our way of maybe paying for our perceived sins. Hey, you get that burger and fries today, but tomorrow you'll drink Xavier juice. Well, that's how marketing, multi-level marketing, works also. They play on the guilt. Do something for yourself. You haven't been taking care of yourself. And this new vitamin will cause you to lose belly fat, or enrich your sexual life, or give you that extra vigor that you need in the mornings, right? And so you think, well, I'll give it a shot. You give it a shot, and it's really nothing better than any other B vitamin out there, or caffeine, or any other thing that could do basically the same thing for you. There's no magic pill, but multi-level marketing appeals to the people who have that magic mentality. There's got to be that quick answer that nobody's discovered until they form a new multi-level marketing group, and they've got this inside scoop nobody else has. And, unfortunately, there are so many people who want to believe in multi-level marketing right now. We're in a bad economy. And frankly, it's not getting any better. And I've been saying that now for some time. And while everybody else has been saying, we're in a fabulous economy, it's finally picking up. Yeah, it's a little slow, but we're seeing progress. And I kept saying, I'm not seeing it. Well, the recent statistics came out and said, hey, the government's not seeing it either. We're not doing great financially. We're still struggling. And for the people who are down to their last dime, For the people who can't find work, for the people who are underemployed and want to supplement their income, multi-level marketing is a fabulous opportunity, they think. It's a great opportunity if you want to lose your shirt. And of course, the people at the top are preying on these people who want so much to believe in something and are hoping for that quick buck, or the people who just don't want to work and want something as easy as cutting and pasting an ad online and being told a couple calls a day, invest $6,500 and you get to be on the diamond level and you get to collect all the money from beneath you. And interestingly enough, in the man that I heard in the group who was talking about the penny stock scam, one thing somebody said, well, how fair is it that somebody at the top is collecting all this money and the people below aren't? And he said, well, don't CEOs collect a lot of money? Well, then, it's no different than a CEO. I'm a CEO. Really? No, a CEO is making more than $300 a week. And that's with a $6,500 investment? Scary. Very scary. Well, that's a classic example of a pay-to-play scheme, and really an indicator that this particular one is going to be labeled as a pyramid soon by the FTC. I don't see how it's going to escape that. And I could be wrong, but I have a feeling we're going to be looking at quite a mess. And I think that man is going to be very sorry he invested that money, since he told us it was the last money he had on earth and he decided he was going to invest it. But he was one of those credulous types, and there are people out there, and that's why I have this show. I'm trying to train you guys to think a little bit more before you get involved in something like this. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. Didn't your grandmother tell you that? Didn't you have a mother? My mother would have told me I was an idiot. So if it sounds too good to be true, trust me, it is, okay? There's a problem, too, with the social aspect of multi-level marketing. You are infringing on your friendships. You are infringing on your relatives. Is it really fair to one day try to sell them overpriced cosmetics when they could buy them at a drugstore, and 6 months later you're trying to sell them on candles, and they could get those candles at, a drugstore, or selling them on vitamins, which they could get at a drugstore? Is it really fair that you make these people have parties for you? Really? They're expected to serve, champagne, punch, snacks. And if they help you sell enough candles, they get some extra candles, woohoo, still at a way, way overpriced rate than they could get for a comparable candle at the mall or a supermarket. That's right, I keep using the term supermarket. I keep pointing to the supermarket because honestly, in all the years of me being dragged to gourmet cookware parties and plastic cookware parties and waterless cookware parties and parties where they have electric vegetable peelers, truly, I think I can peel my own vegetables by myself a lot cheaper than buying that overpriced electric vegetable peeler. And the only reason I buy those things is because you asked me to, and I feel guilty. It's not fair. And you lose friends and you lose family members. You end up damaging yourself by building these, if you're in the marketing scam. If you're doing a multi-level marketing scam and you are infringing on other people, you're damaging yourself because you're creating something called a counterfeit customer. They may feel obligated to buy once or twice from you, but do you really think they're going to continually buy from you when they could be spending so much less money elsewhere, especially in this economy? You can't trust that these people will continue to support you. You might as well just ask for a handout and be done with it. So again, one of the reasons these multi-level marketing groups exist, according to Dr. Taylor, is, again, Amway, which is a company that Mike brought up at the beginning. And I don't usually like to mention names, but I'm mentioning Amway because it's in his paper. And he says that the main reason they exist is the FTC ruled that they were not a pyramid scheme as long as they were selling product. And they had to sell to non-participants, people who were not actual Amway members. Why? Because with a multi-level marketing scheme, I am going to turn around and recruit you and ask you to become part of the group. And now you get to go out and recruit other people to become part of the group. And the main way I make my money is off my recruitments, not the product I'm selling. So in order to stop that, the FTC said, well, you can't do that anymore. You must sell a product, and it must be a large amount of your income. However, Quickstar, which is Amway's renamed company now, Quickstar has only 3.4 of their sales to non-participants. So if the FTC re-examined Quickstar, it probably would not hold up to scrutiny at this point, Dr. Taylor says to us. He also says that when, of course, it is top-weighted and people are being judged on who they add, you can't add people forever, can you? Because if you do, we're going to be talking about the world's population, and not everybody in the world can be a member of Amway. So at some point, somebody is going to get recruited into a multi-level marketing group, and they're not going to stay, right? So what happens to their money? Well, their money is absorbed and sent up the chain. They lose out. No more money. They've just lost their life savings or their investment, or maybe even just a very small investment. But the magic, if you want to call it magic, about multi-level marketing is soon to come, and we will talk about the magic when we come back from this break, and you will learn what hook they use. This is Dr. Drake on The Business Edge, and we'll be back in 5. And this is Dr. Drake. Thank you so much for joining me today on The Business Edge. If you'd like to call in, the number here is 866-826-1340. So we're talking about multi-level marketing. And as I left and we broke for commercials, I said there's something magical. Oh, yeah, that too. There's something very magical about these multi-level marketing groups. The scam is a thing of beauty if you're a criminal, because you don't just pay that initial startup fee. Oh, no, you pay a lot more, and on a regular basis, because you are often told that your commissions are based on your sales. So you come up with these fake customers. There are many cases of people who ask everybody, hey, can I just get your name and sign you up as a distributor under me? I'll even pay for all the product. I just need you listed as a distributor so I can qualify for the commissions, right? And then what do? They buy stock under that person's name. So say it's vitamins. Maybe John only needs 1 bottle of vitamins a day, or a month. Goodness knows if he needs them a day, he's going to be in the hospital quickly enough. Say he needs a bottle a month, right? Well, John is is trying to create a number of people under him in order to qualify for bigger commissions. So he goes to Sue and Ellen and says, Sue and Ellen, please, can I put your name down? And he buys a bottle of vitamins for Sue and Ellen. Well, if he gives that bottle of vitamins to Sue and Ellen, he actually loses money, so he stockpiles it. Or maybe he tries to sell it at a flea market or something. And the point is that with these multi-level marketing groups, almost everybody ends up stockpiling product, because you have to keep buying to make yourself eligible for the commissions that are being promised. It's a never-ending nightmare where you invest more money and more money as the months progress, to a point where the people at the top are making tremendous profits, and you are actually usually losing money on a monthly basis. You are barely breaking even if you're lucky. So multi-level marketing also has you working not the standard 8-hour day. No, you left your company because it was 8 hours a day, and that was so much work. You knew you could start your own business with quick fix vitamins, right? So you leave your company to go sell quick fix vitamins. And suddenly you're not working 8-hour days, you're working 18-hour days. Yes, that's the average if you are in multi-level marketing. 18-hour days. That's a lot of work, isn't it? Now, it gives you enough time to get some sleep in there, and if you're lucky, you can eat on the run. And you better be taking those vitamins, because you need the energy. You're making up for lost sleep. Your hair's probably falling out from the stress. I doubt you're eating right. You better be taking those vitamins you're selling. Well, obviously, there are more losers than winners, and that's how these multi-level marketing companies are based. They are based on losers. They are only successful if they're losers. There's no such thing as a winner, because, again, the way that they expand, it would have to expand throughout the entire earth, and in a short amount of time, the entire earth would be covered, and somebody, the very last person on earth to buy into it, would lose money. And so would so many other people in between. It's just not a scheme that will hold up under scrutiny. It's not a possibility. They say that he gives an example of New Skin, which is apparently a product that he got involved with before he wisened up. And he said that he did a study on their 2008 distributor compensation summary and found that at best, 1 out of 1,961 distributors profited. That's 1 out of 1961 people. That's 1,961. Only one person. That's not a profitable company. And if you want to say, I'm starting my own business selling quick fix vitamins, are you really? Is it really your own business? Because when 95% of multi-level marketing people fail and only 65% of new businesses fail within 10 years, you have a much better shot just hanging a shingle on your door and advertising lawn mowing services. I mean, this is not profitable for you, but it sure is profitable for the people at top. So there are some things that you need to ask, and one of them is, does the company pay overrides, which is commissions and bonuses, to distributors in a hierarchy of more levels than are functionally justified? In other words, 5 or more levels. How many levels are in a company, right? I mean, think about it. In a company, you've got maybe a president, a vice president, and a manager, 3 levels. Oh, throw in a 4th level, have an assistant manager. But you're not going to have more than that. How many captains does a company need? And it's the same with multi-level marketing. If there are 5 or more levels, it should be sending up red flags, right? In fact, the FTC prosecution in the Amway case argued that as the number of levels in an MLM compensation plan increased, so did the opportunity for fraud. And this was in FTC versus Amway. So if the government's saying that, they're not always right. I'll grant you that, but I'd pay attention. There's also something called an Australian 2-up plan, something I hadn't heard of before, where new recruits must forfeit commissions for the first 2 sales to an online sponsor before qualifying for commissions. Which, you say to yourself, hey, I can forfeit 2 sales commissions, right? But it adds up, and eventually it snowballs too. It's still multi-level marketing. So he also talks about the harm of multi-level marketing, and I would agree wholeheartedly with this. And he says, of course, loss rates are extremely high, and as I told you, 95% fail. So I'd say that's a very high failure rate. And of course, in typical MLMs, the more you invest, the more you lose, because you don't recoup it, and there's just not enough. You can't eat enough vitamins to make up for all the ones you're buying, right? And he also says, of course, that your reputation suffers, as it would if you're hitting up Great Aunt Maud and Grandma for her life savings because you're so desperate to make this juice product sell like hotcakes. He says pyramid schemes and multi-level marketing schemes, basically the same. He says, aside from any existence of products for sale, may represent a distinction without a difference. In fact, multi-level marketing is the most damaging class of pyramid schemes by any measure: loss rates, aggregate losses, number of victims, and degree of leverage. So, stay away from those penny stocks and the newest juice scheme, and if somebody tells you it's too good to be true, as I said to you before, if your mother hasn't told you this and your grandmother didn't tell you this, I'm telling you right now, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. And if it sounds too good to be true, it's because it is. Mike, you wanted to say something?
It's just always feeding on people's greed. It's just that
brilliant.
Quick,
So true.
It doesn't matter. You will always have some schlub out there who's gonna buy the swampland,
Oh, absolutely true. There's a sucker born every minute. They say P.T. Barnum said that, but there's no proof of that. But I have to give it to the man. The man was a great businessman, and there is truly a sucker born every minute. One way to tell if it's a multi-level scam is ask yourself, if this was a franchise, would this happen? If this was an insurance agency or a recruiting business, direct selling even. I mean, these are all companies where they don't have recruiting of participants, which is unlimited in an endless change of people. They don't want multiple levels of distributors. It doesn't even pay if you are a small business owner to have 5, 10 levels of people that have to report to other people and send money up the chain to other people. Furthermore, if you're an employee of one of these firms, do you have to invest in the product? Do you have to pay $100 to work somewhere and then buy that product on a monthly basis? If you do, you're being scammed too, buddy. I've never heard of a legitimate job like that, and I've never worked for one. If they exist, I'd sure like to hear from somebody, because that's a new one to me. I've never paid to get into a job. Now, offer a bribe or two for somebody who can pass me on to the right person. Yeah, take you out to lunch. Yeah, you got the right hookup. I'm there. But no, paying to work? Are you crazy? And so the same rules should apply to multi-level marketing.
It's like corporate payola.
Exactly. You got to be out of your mind. Yeah, I'll take you to lunch if you got a good lead for me, by all means. But no, paying $100 to join a company? Are you nuts? So even if they tell you that your materials are covered, come on. Really. I mean, I guess you could justify if they have some absolutely amazing presentation everybody uses. Yeah, give me, I'll pay $10 for the software. But $100? Come on. I mean, you have to compare apples to apples, just like with the vitamins. If you're going to buy these fancy vitamins for $60, they better give you something that those $10 vitamins don't. And you can't convince me. I want to look at the label on the bottle and compare it myself. And it's the same with the marketing materials. Don't fall for it. Okay, so here it says mathematically, approximately 90% of all participants in Classic 8-Ball, which is a pyramid scheme, because they call it 8-Ball because it's one guy at the top, and then he recruits two people under him who each recruit two people, and they each recruit two people. So it quickly goes 1, 2, 4, 8. In a typical pyramid scheme, they're all guaranteed financial loss, 90% at least, which is, effectively all. But with multi-level marketing companies, it's a little harder to tell because they keep escaping financial collapse by recruiting new suckers. So there's always somebody who leaves and they're disenchanted, but there's always some new starry-eyed recruit who's been told, hey, you're going to make a fortune. Aren't you the lucky guy? So something to remember. You are going to pay for it one way or the other, and I hope you have plenty of money to burn if you get involved. And of course, you always have to look for a revolving door. Go online if you're seeing tons of people out there saying, "Hey, I joined the Quick Star Juice Company." And oh my goodness, what a nightmare. That should be a sign. And of course, if the word scam comes up along with the company's name, read everything you can read about it. And I would recommend that you Google it that way. Google the company name and the word scam. If you get a lot of hits, you got trouble.
There's a site out there also called the Ripoff Report.
Yep, great site.
Yeah.
Very good site. And thanks for reminding me about that, Mike. Definitely check him out on the Ripoff Report. And don't think that it's just necessarily products. There are actually some thinly veiled religious organizations that work as that too. There's all kinds of I'm not going to name any names, but you always hear something that's kind of pseudo-religious involved with these. Sometimes I think there's such a fine line; it's indistinguishable at times. Just be cautious. Google and find out what the negative things are that people are saying. Because where there's smoke, there's usually fire. There's of course going to be negative things said about any group, any organization, any religious group, any company that sells anything. But the question is, how much? How much is said? And who is saying it? Is the government saying, hey, stay away from these marketing level schemes? Well, actually, yes, they are. They have a lot of warnings on MLMs. So be cautious about that. This Dr. Taylor, and this is a beautiful quote he makes in here. He says, recruitment-driven MLMs, which is really all of them, are like a fast-growing cancer, viral and predatory. It's sad because so many people want to believe, and all they do is get taken. But the good news is that you will make money, you will save money, and you will be fine if you don't join one. So it says in here elsewhere, some participants are in reality sympathy buyers, counterfeit customers, and dummy distributors. And but more significantly, he says in here that the people who really, really make money are the people who don't join. They're the people who invested in something else. Maybe put it in savings, get a Christmas fund. Don't get involved in something where you're just paying and paying and paying for substandard products because you want so much to believe in it. And remember to just ask around. And if it's something that sounds too good to be true, it's too good to be true. And if it involves you having to hit on all your friends and relatives and try to sell them on the program, then it's not good enough to stand on its own. If you really believe in this product, fine, buy it. But don't try to sell it unless you are very sure that other people believe in it and can believe in it as well. Because your name is a precious thing, and your name will be linked to that forever. Not just with your family and friends, but it has a way of moving along by word of mouth. I remember when I was a retail manager many years ago, somebody told me that for every complaint, there were 7 complaints that went unsaid. Think about that with multi-level marketing. And be cautious. Be cautious, my friends. Well, this is Dr. Drake with The Business Edge. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I will see you next Monday night from 7 to 8 p.m., and we will see you then.